Hi, I'm Mike Stoltz, and we're going to talk today about the National Institute of Health Stroke Scale. The stroke scale is something that we use to assign a value to somebody's stroke symptoms. For the purposes of this assessment, we're going to say that Torn was having a transient ischemic event or some kind of an ischemic stroke wherein he could get TPA or a drug, or transplasmin activator, that will break down the clot and allow blood to free flow after the clot was dissolved, and provide blood back to the areas of the brains that were without beforehand. So, Torn has had TPA. He got in within the 4.5 hour window that he could get it. So he came in. It's 2 hours post-treatment. We're doing the second one. The first one's done when they get here. The second one is done 2 hours post-treatment. And then the next day, 24 hours after symptoms plus 20 minutes. And then it's going to be every day thereafter, 24 hours each. And it could be outwards to 3 to 6 months, depending on how long those symptoms persist. So Torn was coming in. We're going to say, hello, Torn. My name is Mike Stoltz. I'm going to be your nurse today. It's nice to meet you. I think it's important to say, too, that while all this is going on, you're constantly assessing different things. We're going to focus on certain areas, but you're listening to how's his speech? Is he able to look at me? Or are his eyes focused on me, or is one kind of wandering to the side? So you're looking for symmetry in his face. You're looking for ability to reach up and move around with both hands and legs. And we're going to do all that stuff. Now, your nerves happen every time you get vitals, which is Q 15 minutes, and then Q half hour, and then Q hourly. So nerves are simple. You're going to look at his eyes. You're going to look at his face. You're going to, is he awake? Is he able to talk to me? Is he bright? Is he there? Can you tell me what day it is?
It is July
20th. I'll help you out. Sorry, he doesn't know what day. It's summertime. School's in, right?
Yeah.
You're out. Anyway, so it's July 20th. What year?
2019.
And who's our president?
Donald Trump.
All right. So yes, Donald Trump is our president. So he's alert. He's oriented. He knows where he is. What building are we in right now? Pretend.
We're in a hospital.
We're in a hospital. Okay, so he's alert, oriented. He knows where he's at. He's able to speak clearly, so I'm taking note of that as well. Can you show me 2 fingers on each hand? Okay, good. Can you wiggle your toes for me? Very good. Can you squeeze my hand with both hands as hard as you can, which you try to hurt me? Good. So you're looking for him able to do, is he able to do motor skills? Is he able to, follow commands, first of all, and then do motor skills? And then you're looking for strength and equal. If one hand's weaker than the other, then we want to make sure that we're making note of that. Is it a left-sided stroke? Is it a right-sided stroke? And where are you going to see that kind of weakness? Wiggling the toes is just following commands, but you might have them push down like a gas pedal. Good. Now pull up towards your nose. Good. That's gas pedal. Up towards your nose. Good. So there's your really quick kind of assessment. Do you have any numbness or tingling anywhere?
No.
No. Things like that. So that would be our neuro, and then we would start in on our stroke scale, which we've already addressed some of them. The object of this is to just get a baseline number and then see if it improves or gets worse as time goes on. So level of consciousness. I said when we walked in, we looked at him. He seems like he knows where he's at. He's alert and keenly arousable. He's very responsive. If he were not alert and we had to go, hey, Torn, and then he would wake up, that would be a score of 1. Alert gets a score of 0. If he was somewhere I had to be like, Torn, excuse me, sir, then he would get a score of 2. If I could do anything to him, pinch him, poke him, and he didn't, nothing above his normal reflexes of, withdrawal or decorate posturing, then he would get a score of 3. LOC questions. Do you know where you're at? Do you know what day it is? Things like that. He answered all of them correctly, so he'll get a score of 0. If he answered 1 correctly, if he said Bush was the president or something like that, he would get a score of 1. If he answered nothing correctly, if he said we're on Mars, and Bob Hope was the president, then he would get a score of 2. LOC commands. Can you show me 2 fingers? He did that on all 4 extremities. He was able to wiggle his toes, both feet, show me 2 fingers each side, so he would get a 0. If he could only do 1 correctly, say he could only show me 1 finger, give me a thumbs up on one hand or something different, or didn't move that hand at all, then he would get a 1. If he did it with 2, if he was unilateral, where he only moved 2, then you would get a score of 2. Best gaze. So for that, we're going to have Torn look at the eraser on my pencil, but not move your head, okay? Now for best gaze, we're just going to go right to left, and we're going to make sure that his eyes can track, okay, if they're moving smoothly, and he's able to control them. Now, if he was having a little bit of trouble controlling him, like one eye kept drifting off to the side, but he was able to kind of overcome that, then he would get a score of 1. 0 for how good he is now. And a 2 would be if he couldn't overcome it all and his eyes were just deviated to the left no matter what I did with the pencil. Good. So, that's your best gaze. The next part we do, if I get my pages stop sticking out, is your visual. Okay, so I would say, all right, Torrin, I want you to look right at my nose and tell me how many fingers, no, look at my nose, tell me how many fingers I'm holding up.
2.
How many now?
3.
Don't look at that. How many now?
2.
How many now?
1.
Good. So, he has all of his visual fields. He's got his right and his left. How about you now?
1.
Okay, good. So everything in front of him, everything on the sides, he can take it all in and he sees it well. So he'll get a score of 0. If he couldn't see on the left side or the right side, if it was just a little blurry, he had trouble with it, he would get a 1. And if he was completely blacked out and did nothing to protect his eyes, then he would get a 2. Next one's facial palsy. So to ask that, or assess that rather, we'll say, Torrin, can you show me a smile? Good. You want to make sure everything's symmetrical. And all those muscles are working on both sides. Can you raise your eyebrows up? Good. You don't have to keep doing it. So if he had trouble where one would go up and one would stay down, or he would have like kind of a smiling but a drooping on the other side, that would be a score of 1. Symmetrical is perfect, and that's 0. And if he couldn't do anything at all, if he had like just severe palsy on one side, that would be a 2. Next thing we're looking at is arms and motor. So Torrin, if you could, close your eyes for me. I want you to lift your hands up, hold your palms up. Just keep them out right like that. I'm going to count to 5. I want you to hold them up. Don't let them fall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good, you can put them down. Actually, put them back up for a hot second. So if Torrin was unable to hold his arm up and he had this drift, what we call drift, that would be a score of 1. If he was unable to resist gravity or had a lot of effort, that would be a 2. And he would get a point like that for each side. If he was completely unable, that would be a 3. Now, you want to hold your leg up like that. Close your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Drop it. Next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. We only do one at a time because if you have them do both, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to start to work the stomach. So one at a time is fine. We did arm, motor, arm, leg. So we did those. Moving on to limb ataxia. Now to test ataxia, what we're going to have Torrin do is touch his nose with his right hand and then touch my finger. And then nose, finger, same thing. Keep going. Good. Now left hand. Good. Good. So what you want to see is him having clear, precise movements from nose to finger, nose to finger, nose to finger. What you don't want to see is Torrin like smacking himself in the eye or hitting his mouth or just kind of missing that and missing my finger. That's some limb ataxia. That's showing signs of it. So you're going to have a score of 1 if it's mild to moderate, 2 if it's really severe, and 3 if they can't really do anything. They're just kind of mute and globally, 2. We're looking for a 2 is the top one on that. My mistake. Now, to assess it in his legs, what we're going to have Torrin do is take your heel of your right foot and drag it up your left shin. Very good. Perfect. And then on the other side. Very good. So the way he's doing it, score is 0. If he had some trouble with it, you would call it a 1. And if he was unable to do it, you would call it a 2. Sensory. The way we assess this usually is I have one side that's sharp and one side that's dull. Okay, this is going to be dull. Okay? And this is going to be sharp. Okay? It's a little bit. It's not going to stick. Say, close your eyes. And I want you to be able to tell me if it's sharp or dull. Okay?
Sharp.
Okay?
Dull.
Okay?
Sharp.
Okay?
Oh.
Good?
Sharp.
Good?
Sharp. Sharp.
It's the happiest stroke patient I've ever had.
Dull. Dull. Sharp.
Okay. So what you're looking for is he able to distinguish sharp and dull? Is the sensory system like equate or up to that challenge? And sometimes you'll have people that won't be able to tell sharp or dull if there's a lot of errors. not a lot, but if there's a few errors, you can score him a 1. And if he can't tell at all, or he doesn't even know that I'm touching his leg, that would be a 2. The next thing we're going to do is language. Now, sometimes people with strokes are aphasic. They have difficulty communicating things, either verbally or understanding what I'm saying. So what we'll have them do sometimes is we'll have them look at a picture of a mother doing dishes, the kids are getting in the cookie jar, and the stool is tipping over. So, Torin, can you tell me what's going on in that picture?
The mother is cleaning the dishes, but the sink is overflowing, and the kid is trying to get like a cookie for his sister, but the stool is falling, and the mother looks angry.
She's giving up. So, yep, that's what you're after. Okay, you want him to be able to clearly articulate what's going on in that picture. So, good job. The next one we're going to check out is dysarthria. So, if he was having trouble with that, if he was very slurred, if his words were incomprehensible, then we would have to score, best language, so mild to moderate. If he had some word finding, if he was like, and then would say the word he was looking for, that would be a 1. If he was having severe trouble with it, if he was having almost imperceptible inability perceptible ability to try to find that word, he would be more of a severe, and that would score him a 2. Whereas if he couldn't understand or talk to me at all, he would be scored a 3. If someone has a 3 and they're very bad and they're garbled speech, they can't form comprehensible words, then you would look at dysarthria as well, and you would say, you know what, we need to address this. If it was mild to moderate and he would slur some, almost sound like somebody who was intoxicated, then you could give him a 1. If it was like mumbled speech, where it was very garbled and hard to discern, you could give him a 2. If it was completely incomprehensible, it would be a 3. And if he's intubated, you would write unable to assess or intubated. And the last bit we'll do is just his extinction and inattention. Now, Torin's able to follow both sides. If I would come on the other side, when I showed over here, he's able to attend that side. If I told him to lift his left hand, he could do that. Sometimes you'll find people that just kind of slouch over to one side and completely ignore the other side, or their heads are completely turned, and we actually have to roll a towel and put it beside their head to keep them straight and in a symmetric line. That would be your inattention and an extinction. And that would be, or extinction, That would be no abnormality like Torin's would be a 0. If it was something visual or auditory where his eyes would kind of deviate to the one side, or he wouldn't be able to hear out of one side very well, that's a 1. And if it was profound, having attention where he's just slumped over that side, not doing anything, a lot of times they're so inattentive that their shoulders will actually come out of socket and sublux. That's going to be a 2. So you would add up that score, and obviously 0 is what you don't want. The higher the number it goes, the worse it is. And on someone who's getting TPA, we would do this because we want to make sure that the stroke's getting better, but we also want to make sure that it's not getting worse. So if you have TPA, it means you come in, you've had a CT, and you were cleared, meaning there's no blood in your head to get this medication. Because what it does is make your blood very thin, and if you have super high blood pressure or that thrombus converts into a hemorrhage, he's going to get bad fast. And we're going to have to pick up on that as fast as possible to get him down for surgery if need be, and make sure that he's okay. But as he is, he's done very well. I appreciate his help. So Torin will get a score of 0, and that's your NIH stroke scale. All right. Thank you.